Hi there, welcome to a webinar which is going to be me talking about Nico and why you have trouble keeping off weight whenever you lose it and why that comes back. My name is Lytton. I am one of the co-founders of Nico, which is a metabolic health coach. I have personally been losing and gaining the same weight for absolutely years now. It's the reason that I'm in the business I'm in now. Uh, I wanted to solve the problem, and that's one of the things I want to talk to you about today. But the other thing is about the solution that I've actually got. So let's talk about why yo-yo weight loss happens and why it's not normal, although we've been told it is, and what you could do about it. So here is a picture of me. Here's four pictures of me where I have been around the weight I am right now for most of my adult life, and that's around 76 to 78 kilograms. I've run a marathon a little bit lighter than this because I trained very hard for it, but I've been comfortable at this weight most of my life until what happened to me accidentally was I strayed into becoming quite overweight. 94 and a half kilograms at my heaviest. And at my height, that's not healthy. It caused me a lot of health problems at the time that I was being investigated for. So I kind of, this happened to me accidentally and I dramatically lost a lot of weight. Excuse me. When I say dramatically, not that dramatically. I used a CGM, I did blood sugar monitoring, went through a program that helped me lose a fair amount of weight. I was losing 5 kilograms, that's like 3/4 of a stone per month. And this is what I've looked like over the 10 years. I've gone full circle. And I wanted to say there's no shame in this. This is a completely natural mechanism. What happened was I'd upset my system when I became a stay-at-home dad in the middle here. It is when I was sleeping terribly, I wasn't eating well, and I mean, this isn't the worst photo of me. I just can't find the worst photo of me because I don't believe we should fat shame ourselves in the past. So it's just a photo of me at a point in time where I was having a lot of trouble. I had to go to do it was my first day back at work. I had to do a conference presentation where I'm on stage, and I do not normally match formal shoes with with a casual t-shirt. But what happened was the shirt that I was wearing, the buttons popped open on it on the way to the conference venue, and I had to end up going to Superdry. And I bought a t-shirt and I bought myself a medium, and I didn't realize I didn't fit in that. I had to go back into the shop and buy an extra large. So I realized I had to do something about losing weight at the time. And then after I went through this CGM based weight loss program where I was losing 5 kilograms a month, I got down to 69 kilograms. And I think that might be a decent weight for me. However, over the last couple of years, I haven't been concentrating on losing weight. I've been concentrating on doing lots of other things. And the weight just naturally kind of came back. What it didn't do is go up and up and up. So I have tried over the last few years to increase my weight a little bit just to do things for social media videos. And it's not hugely hard to do. And here's why. Your brain controls your weight like it's a thermostat. And your your brain controls your weight to what we call a programmed set point. If you lose weight, it will try to get you back up to the weight that you're at. Your body is always fighting your weight loss attempts. So what will happen is actually, no matter how you lose weight, you'll go through this, and it's a case of your body um, reducing its metabolic rate, your appetite is going to increase, and the brain's reward processes for finding energies remain very, very powerful, and you're governed by these. So you can't just break out of it by following somebody's advice to restrict the amount of energy that you eat every day or that you take in every day and to use more energy. So that's the problem that you've got. You've got a mechanism inside your brain. It's we call it the weight set point. I'm not going to go massively into detail, but it's based on your brain fighting your weight loss because it's a survival mechanism. So whether you're using the latest GLP-1 drugs or a diet, that's what you're up against, and that's the problem that I had here, where I went down to 79 kilograms, where I was kind of happy, went back up to 78 kilograms, where guess what? I'm kind of happy, but I know that I'm statistically overweight. So I'm looking now to change my weight again, but this time to keep the weight off. How do you do that? You have to change that set point. And your set point depends on a variety of things. It depends on your genetics. You are more likely to become overweight if you're from a family that's able to be overweight. That they say that genetics probably accounts for about 70% of where that set point sits, but it doesn't mean it's fixed. Your genes don't decide your fate. Just because your mother or father was something, it doesn't mean that you necessarily will be. And there's a complex process of where you can turn off and on these things according to the choices you make, the environment that you live in or that you're forced to live in. So the number one thing that affects your set point is going to be genetics. Number two is your environment. And by environment, I actually mean not just where you live. You got to think about it as the food you eat. The food you eat is part of the environment around you, and it's not actually inside you until you let it pass through your gut and into your blood. It's sitting inside essentially a tube before it does that. Your sleeping patterns are part of what we look at when it comes to helping you reduce weight. Your stress levels as well. If you look at identical twins that were raised in different households and end up at different weights, the genes do contribute, but the environment makes a significant change to what actually happens to that person. And then you've got the actual what's happened to the modern body. So the modern body, actually, where we've evolved to is you have Stone Age hardware. We've evolved to deal with the hunter-gatherer lifestyle, which at best we're not really quite coping with agriculture because our systems are so old, and we're dragging this Stone Age hardware through modern life, which means that we've disrupted all of those things, such as sleep, stress levels, even light, and then we get to the food that we eat every day. Um, the thing is, the modern lifestyle is like a software update that has made this system go haywire. And processed foods, refined carbohydrates, more carbohydrates than you can handle, and lots of sugar. All of this stuff gradually pushes your set point up because that Stone Age system is designed to cope with feast and famine. And when you end up eating a lot more energy than you need or drinking a lot more energy than you need, no matter how much you try and diet that off or exercise that off, your body is actually looking at the excess energy as a reserve that it will need later. So fat is just stored energy. It's just energy that's been trapped and needs to be used. The trouble with the modern lifestyle is that modern lifestyle has kind of sent the system that we use completely haywire. And I've pulled this diagram from Andrew Jenkinson's book, How to Eat, which I think is quite a useful way to look at it. Now, in my company, we don't talk about calories because we don't think they're very useful, but let's think about it this way. Um, he's explained the reason that your weight always bounces back and the reason that you have yo-yo with a nice diagram, which I thought was pretty good. Uh, it's a constant tug of war. So every weight loss attempt is a constant tug of war because you've got your weight loss team here in red, and then you've got the other team, which is your weight regain team, who are constantly working here on the other side against you. And the weight loss team is traditional advice: eat less, move more. And that has never really worked for anybody. So if you're thinking that you're alone and it not working for you, do not worry. That's an everybody problem, right? Eat less, move more doesn't work because actually your weight is controlled by your metabolism, and your metabolism is infinitely complex. And right here in blue, the other team is what is responsible partly for governing your weight. There's more that's involved in here. So first of all, your metabolism is it's a really, really complex system of how your energy is governed. It will decide how your energy is used. It will change with you. And I think the thing that's interesting to think about is we often think of ourselves as machines because we're encouraged to by the people that tell us, look, eat fewer calories, use more calories, and you will lose weight. Well, that can happen temporarily, especially if you do things like starving yourself or do extreme amounts of exercise, but your body will then respond. So, for example, your metabolic rate will increase. Sorry, it will decrease the other way around. Your metabolic rate will decrease because you're putting your body into emergency mode and your body reacts to it. So you're told that the amount of energy that's going in just needs to be balanced off. But actually, you can't necessarily know. Well, you won't know what's happening to the food that you eat once it goes into your body. It's broken down to the molecular level, which you really can't see. But you can track if you do things like blood testing or glucose monitoring, that kind of thing. So while you're reducing the amount you eat and increasing the amount of exercise you do, well, your metabolism is actually changing rate to respond to that. But there's much more to metabolism than just like a rate at which it works. That the rate at which it works is controlled by hormones. So you have several hormones involved in your metabolism. One of the big ones that we talk about is insulin. Insulin is a naturally occurring hormone which helps the body store energy. So when there is energy coming into your body in the form of food, insulin helps you to store the molecules that come from the food. Um, but when your insulin is high all the time, and that happens a lot for people who eat the modern diet that I was talking about, the standard diet, where you have a third of a plate of each macronutrient, for example, and a lot of that being processed food. Most people have normally higher insulin levels than that kind of Stone Age system was used to. And your body starts to kind of disrupt the signals that your brain needs when it comes to storage. So first of all, if your cells become resistant to insulin because it's so used to having high levels of insulin, then it can lead to all sorts of different illnesses. Insulin resistance itself is a condition that a lot of people start to get in midlife because they've used that insulin system so much. And it happens after you flood your blood with glucose molecules. Insulin reacts to clear glucose out of your body, sorry, out of your bloodstream, and store it into other parts of your body. And what happens after that is eventually your body becomes more and more resistant to the message that insulin sends. So if you have high insulin over time, your cells start to kind of ignore the message a little bit. And the problem that can create is there's another hormone that gets blocked, that signal, which goes directly to your brain, which is leptin. So you end up with something called leptin resistance. The leptin signal is something that actually comes from your fat cells. So when your fat cells are producing leptin, it travels to your brain and says, look, we've had enough energy here, it's stored, and you don't need to eat anything else. So literally, leptin can tell your brain that you're full and you don't need any more food. But insulin resistance blocks that. So you can legitimately feel very, very hungry all the time while having lots and lots of spare fat on your body. So you could carry 30 kilograms of fat, and that should be producing leptin. It is, but the signal gets ignored. Stress can make this worse. So cortisol increases insulin and appetite as well. And your appetite is governed by another hormone or a series of hormones, but the main one here is one called ghrelin, which says, hey, your stomach's empty. And that one starts to go into overdrive. So you have this complex set of hormones that are kind of driving your satiety, your cravings, your appetite. One of them is called GLP-1, by the way. You may have heard of that from the drugs Ozempic and Wegovy and other things. Um, the the way those drugs work is they fake one of these hormones that you are using day in day out to actually work out how much energy your body needs. So this is basically the problem that you've got. You're going through this all the time, and the thing is, your diets fail and even drugs fail because everybody goes through this. This is what the weight loss kind of from after you've stopped taking a weight loss drug looks like. From their own trials, Ozempic have showed that what happens is after you stop taking drug, uh, About a year later, most of the weight has come back to you, which is what that treatment stops line is here on this graph. But we could have done this graph for lots of different weight loss attempts. Even the weight loss attempt I went through with using a CGM, because it's not geared for maintenance, what happens is you stop the treatment and then the weight starts to come back. The only real thing that you can do is what people often call maintenance. It's trying to do the same thing. But when you're making extreme changes, such as taking an expensive drug, such as doing a diet that excludes you from eating with other people, or doing so much exercise that your social life's ruined, all of these things are temporary. So what you have to actually do is work out a way to make sustainable weight loss work by changing your set point. First of all, you have to change the way those hormones work, and that's how you lose the weight in the first place. Secondly, you have to get to a place where you start to make sustainable lifestyle changes. So, although we're talking about hormonal changes, those hormones are changed by what happens every day in your blood glucose, for example. So, that's one of the reasons that blood glucose monitoring has become so popular, because blood glucose is how the human body manages and measures and regulates energy. So if you can see what's happening with your blood glucose, you won't see what's happening with your insulin, and you won't see what's happening with the other hormones that we're talking about, the metabolic hormones. But what you will do is you will be able to understand that you have some control over this. So when you start to understand the patterns that your eating, your exercise, your sleep have on your glucose, you can actually start to gain control of what your body's doing long term. Ultimately, you could go through a process of just lowering your set point without using any kind of technology. The point is that you can fight that set point with some kind of restriction. You do need to find a way to lose weight initially, but everybody finds that, right? You find it, you can do a keto diet, you can do a whatever drugs I was talking about, you could have bariatric surgery, but you know what, the research shows that even with that surgery, eventually the weight starts to creep back up. So to lose weight for good, what you have to do is you have to lower the set point, you have to fix the leptin resistance, you have to stabilize your glucose. And when you stabilize your glucose and insulin, you develop something called metabolic flexibility. And then to keep this off, you actually have to think about other parts of your environment. There's the sleep environment, there's stress, there's movement related to things like when you eat, for example, you can learn to move in conjunction with the way you eat. So what happens is getting your weight to fall naturally, because fat storage and fat usage are natural mechanisms of the human body. You then have to basically negotiate with your brain. And you do that through the actions you have every day. And the most powerful thing that you have, the real difference, is the automation that your brain has. Habits are your brain's way of automating things. So what you need to do is effectively just reprogram some of your brain's automation over time. So that's exactly what I'm now doing. It's exactly what Nico, the business, does. And we're talking about, instead of fighting the system that governs your weight constantly and then going up and down in this yo-yo dieting way, what you need to do is you need to reprogram it. And that's exactly what we do. So let me take you through how Nico actually does that process. I'm going to shift this camera around a little bit because I can actually show you the app itself. So this is Nico, which seems to be backwards at the moment. Let's see if I can do anything with that. Bear with me. No. I'm afraid that I'm going to have to show you Nico backwards, and my co-founder is going to be very upset with what I've done with this beautiful brand here. So here's the thing with Nico. You don't really have to look at the words at the moment, which I'm showing you backwards, which is kind of crazy. But maybe I'll put a video up later to show you exactly how this works. What you've got here is a glucose based energy curve. So I am wearing a device which shows exactly what my body's energy does. So if I just do that. Every day, I'm going to go through life and log things that I do. And Nico's going to know. So if I show you, for example, Nico, I just ate some baked beans with some toast and had a cup of tea. And I forgot to tell you that 3 hours ago I went for a 20-minute walk and then did 5 press ups when I came home. So instead of going through what you generally would have gone through when it comes to calorie tracking and all that kind of stuff, what Nico encourages you to do is interact with it more like you might with a coach, because Nico is a metabolic health coach, right? What we're doing here is we are creating something that's centered around glucose for the reasons that I just told you. You stabilize your glucose, you change your insulin, all the other hormones start to change. You eventually convince your body to change your set point through habits. So the very first thing is glucose. The glucose curve, I will show you what it does. It shows you exactly how your energy is behaving over several hours. So I can see exactly what my glucose curve does over the day. And if it goes over a certain line, then what will happen is that will change color. Now, I've been behaving in a certain way when it comes to food, so mine does not go pink, but it goes pink to show you that you have an above average glucose line. The other thing that it does is it then, all the things that I just logged and said, look, Nico, here's what I've been doing. It will then log all these things and categorize them and even add a time to it. So you know how I said, look, I forgot that I did a 20-minute walk. It's currently 1:20 on my watch, but Nico actually logged that walk for 10:23. So you can tell it what time you did something, even if that was in the past. And if you forgot to add something, you can add this thing. The important thing here is having a diary is what gets you, first of all, engaged with a process of understanding what's going into your body, understanding what your energy is doing, and understanding what your habits really are. It's really important to have some kind of log of activity when you're going through a weight loss process. And what that does is, number one, it keeps you accountable. Number two, Nico then learns what's going on. So although Nico is kind of monitoring your energy constantly, what's really important is adding this data that's automatically coming in from your body, which is coming in from something called an energy sensor that I'm wearing on my arm just here. Nico now ties that little log I've put in to the data that's going on here. So what we can do is we can look at how my energy's gone up and down now, but the food that I've just apparently eaten, the baked beans, and well, I think I ate baked beans and toast, I can't remember. What will happen with this food is over the next 4 hours or so, my body's going to process this food. It's going to break it down to molecules, and the glucose monitor that I am wearing is going to be able to measure the glucose molecules, which is the energy my body is running on. And I can see how much glucose is going in, but also Nico will see that and will make sense of, look, here's what you ate, here's what had too much energy in it. So if there's too much energy in my food, to keep me out of fat burning mode, Nico will analyze that and will tell me as well. This will then appear on the diary. And what we're building at the moment is moving from having a static app where you can just log things as if it's a very, very sophisticated tracker. We're moving from that to having a fully conversational coach, which we'll have in the next few months, where I can talk to Nico like that and say, look, Nico, I just had this, that, and the other, and here's what I did earlier. Or I could preemptively ask it a question about what should I eat out of these things. And the other function that Nico has is it can analyze. So if you take a picture of your food, it can analyze the food and it can work out what that is and categorize it for you as well. And that will help Nico learn, look, which bits of your food aren't quite working for you because of the rate at which energy is coming into your body and how much energy is coming in, and help you move out of eating the foods that are working against your goal. So if your goal, for example, is to change symptoms of PCOS, Well, one of the ways that people do that using Nico is to reduce their insulin resistance. So, one thing that we know is that constantly spiking your blood glucose is going to be counterproductive to that. So, Nico will try and move you out of that. All using the logs of what's been going on with your meals and the energy data that's coming in from number one, your glucose line here, the curve that you make. What we try and do is we try and stop you from having energy surges, which I'm not having any of at the moment. But if you do, you'll really notice it because they turn pink and it's very, very noticeable from far away. So that's coming in from one sensor. I've got another thing on my wrist here, which is just a standard smartwatch. I'm wearing a Withings one. There are loads of others. The Apple Watch, Garmin Watch, etc. Anything that counts steps, monitors heart rate, that kind of thing, also feeds in via Apple or Google's health applications in the background. So what then happens is I can also monitor my heart rate, and Nico can monitor my heart rate and can see whether or not I've been doing something like exercise. And sometimes it may prompt me to log these things. But what it really means is that Nico gets a full context of what's going on with your life, because monitoring your energy is useful. It's great. Changing your habits is really, really hard, and you can't just use glucose data to change your habits. Most of these other apps that you would use to to monitor glucose data, they talk about habit change, but just monitoring glucose data, it can actually cause all sorts of problems for people. So getting really obsessed with these numbers is not the way to change your habits. It relies on you to do all the work. What Nico's doing is it's trying to make everything really, really plain and simple, give you a minimal amount of information on here to manage. So I'm at the stage of, look, you just need to get control of your surges so that you don't have too much energy coming in at once. But it's also kind of reminding me subtly that I'm not logging enough stuff yet, because before I just put that log in, it had been something like 5 hours before I'd logged anything. You'll have a customizable bunch of squares at the top where you can monitor the things that are really, really important to you. Currently, they're all set by default for you, and at the top here, I've set 8,000 steps as an activity because I keep finding myself desk bound. So I have got a lot of steps left to do today, and this will sync automatically from data from my watch, which comes up to my phone as well. And it also tells me how many energy surges I've had in the last 24 hours, which is likely to be from the baguette I was eating last night, plus let's not go into all the different things I ate yesterday, but I kind of know where they're from, but I can also easily scroll back to see where some of these were from as well. And the thing is, you learn over time that your glucose is affected today by the things that you ate yesterday, and it's affected by so much more than just food. You start to learn that your energy is affected by all the different things that I talked about a little bit earlier, sleep, etc. And gradually, what Nico will help you to do is, if your goal is weight loss, it will help you to lose weight. But generally, everybody who comes to Nico loses weight because they're trying to go through this metabolic reset process. The metabolic reset is the first thing you do, which is you get those hormones working together well. The second thing you do is you start to move to reinforcing the habits that you've picked up that work well for you. It doesn't give you a specific diet, it doesn't give you a specific program, because diets and programs are built for individuals who don't necessarily exist. They're one size fits all. Nico works around you. It works around getting the full context of your body and your lifestyle, which is really, really important. It starts to understand everything about you so it can give you the best possible advice to achieve the metabolic health goal you have. We generally start with getting people to flatten that energy curve, and that's where people lose weight. It just naturally happens. So if you want to lose weight, you absolutely can use lots of different methods in conjunction with Nico to get you to where you want to get to. If you've used a system before that works, such as a particular kind of diet, yeah, you can do that. But Nico's not about dieting. Nico's actually about, look, get to the long term weight loss. Nico would rather have you lose weight slowly and keep that weight off for good to improve the quality of your life, because Nico will really try and move you towards focusing on things like the quality of your life as you age. It will prompt you into thinking about exercise that helps you build muscle, for example. So that's Nico in a nutshell. There's a lot more to say, and we'll do a lot more videos in the near future. I just wanted to get started by talking about the fact that Nico is geared towards changing your set point by changing your habits, which all starts with changing your metabolism. All of those things are really, really difficult things to do. But we start by actually giving you a piece of hardware and taking you through a process that will help you control the things that you can control, and then make small habit adjustments by looking at the daily choices that you make. Nico nudges you into making small manageable choices, and then eventually you get to a some kind of transformation which will be all yours because you'll be doing the work, but Nico will be there by your side constantly. If you want to join Nico, you can check it out at www.nico.live. I'll be back regularly on YouTube, so thank you for joining me if you've been here today. I will be here to talk you through all sorts of different questions. And if you want to find our app, have a look for Nico Health to do this in the App Store. You can also sign up there. So Nico spelled Nico, health, Health. I'll see you back on YouTube Live in a couple of weeks. Thank you.